in this Into the Outdoors at Home edition.
Here it is. So, just like our kayaks and SUPs, you should always have a PFD when using a canoe.
Of course, you should always wear a PFD whenever you're out on the water, no matter what type of craft you're on.
And you should always have a throwable flotation device, and it's a good idea to have an extra paddle too.
Oh my gosh, I think I just found my new best friends.
Do we have a float plan?
Yep. My plan is to take us on a short loop around the lake. Since it's about 10 a.m. right now, we'll come back around noon. Let me text my dad the plan.
It's always a good idea to make a float plan and share it with somebody who can make sure you're meeting your checkpoints, like Charlie's dad.
Today we're on a lake, so our float plan is pretty simple since we have the same entry and exit place.
Canoeing is also a great activity for rivers, but that also makes it more challenging. Not only do you have to be aware of currents that might take you off course, but you also need to know your surroundings and have a plan for where you want to exit the river.
Yeah, either way, the more detailed your float plan is, the better the chance of someone helping you in the case of an emergency.
Exactly. Well, my dad will be checking in on us at noon, so that means we have 2 hours to explore.
Sweet.
But before we go in the water, I want to tell you a riddle.
Huh? Why do you want to tell me a riddle right now?
When my dad and I go out in the water, he always tells me a riddle before we go out, and I have to try to solve it before we make it back to shore. So, are you up for the challenge?
Well, when you put it like that.
2 penguins are in a canoe in the middle of the desert with paddles. They are rowing when the first penguin turns to the second penguin and says, "Where's your paddle?" The second penguin responds, "Yup, sure does." Why did the second penguin respond this way? Don't worry, you have until we get back on the shore to figure it out.
I hope that's enough time.
Come on, Zach, let's go.
All right.
Since I'm the more experienced paddler, I'll sit in the back so I can steer us. I'll hold it steady so you can get in. Try to keep your feet on the center line so the boat doesn't rock as much. Like kayaking, the most difficult part of canoeing is getting in and out of the canoe when it's in the water. When moving around in a canoe, try to maintain 3 points of contact, such as both feet and a hand. Make sure to stay low, too. Nice job, Zach. Whoa, look at that!
Wow, I can't believe how many fun ways there are to enjoy the water.
That's right. There's kayaking, windsurfing, sailing, and canoeing.
And don't forget about kiteboarding, boating, and even dock fishing.
These are all great ways for anyone to go outside and enjoy the water.
And the best way to have a fun and safe time on the water is to know the safety standards for the activity you're doing.
That's right. It sounds like you're eager to learn more about canoe safety.
I'll admit, I feel pretty stable right now, but if we were to tip, I don't know what our plan of action would be.
Well, our plan of action would depend on a lot of factors. Let's say you and your partner tip the canoe. The first thing you should ask yourself is, can we swim the canoe to shore? If you can swim your canoe to a nearby shallow area and turn it upright, do that. If this option doesn't work, whether you're too far away from shore or for some other reason, move on to option 2. Option 2 is to try and flag down a nearby experienced canoer that could help you upright your canoe. If there's no one around, move on to option 3. Option 3 is to flip the canoe with your partner in the open water. Remember, flipping and re-entering a canoe from the water is a skill that should be learned and practiced. Be honest with yourself and your partner when deciding if this is a safe course of action for your skill level. Option 4 would be to abandon the canoe and swim to shore. This might be the best plan if you are in cold waters where you could get hypothermia, if you're at risk of getting pulled out with the tide, or if the weather is getting dangerous to be out in. You can always find help in retrieving your canoe after safely making it to shore. Luckily for us, we aren't that far away from shore, so the easiest option would be to swim back to a shallow spot and flip it back over.
But if the canoe is full of water, wouldn't it sink?
Well, it's actually pretty unlikely that the canoe would sink completely. Even if it is full of water, most canoes would stay near the surface so you can pull it back to shore.
Thanks, Charlie. I feel a lot more comfortable now that I know our action plan.
Of course, Zach. It's always good to be aware of your surroundings and the possible situations you could be in. But I think our canoeing adventure is coming to an end. It's getting close to noon, and I think we should head back to shore.
All right, let's finish our loop and head back to the boat launch.
I don't need a PFD because I'm a duck.
So, did you ever figure out the answer to that riddle?
Nope, I have absolutely no idea.
How about you? Do you know the answer? I'll explain.
The two penguins are in the desert, which is mostly sand and hard rocks, and they're paddling with their paddles that are meant to be used in water. The first penguin turns to the other and says, "Where's your paddle?" As in, the hard desert ground is wearing down the paddle because they're rowing in sand. So the second penguin says, "Yep, sure does."
Oh, I don't think I ever would have gotten that.
It might just be a silly little riddle, but I actually think it's a pretty good lesson on how to be prepared and bringing the right gear for your adventure.
You're totally right. Having the right equipment with you can be the difference between a successful day on the water and an accident waiting to happen.
And I know one tool I could really use right now.
What's that?
Lunch. I think we should refuel before our next water adventure.
Yeah, you're totally right. We've been doing a lot of activities that require oars and human power. Let's go refuel our bodies and try out something new.